Hey Liz,
Hey, Olu.
be forewarned, if you start spouting data I do not like, you're about to be so fired.
Wow, from the podcast? I didn't realize we were running a dictatorship here. Jeez. Okay.
I mean, them's the rules. No revisions, whatever I say, just accept it.
Sure. Okay. Let's start the show before you get any more ideas in your head. Let's start the show. Thank you for joining us this week. If you can't tell from our intro, our first topic today is going to be about that job support that came out on Friday and Trump's reaction to it. So, Olu, since you're the aspiring dictator here on the podcast, why don't you let us know your thoughts on what Trump did? We will talk about the job numbers themselves, but it was within hours the report came out. Trump fired the basically head statistician at BLS, the person who came out with the department that came out with the numbers. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they did release numbers. I'm trying to do Trump's voice. This is going very
No.
badly.
I don't think any of us are going to be good at that.
The numbers were 250,000 and now it's 73,000. That's the deep state. That's got deep state written all over it.
It is the
right?
deep
Like,
states.
how do you go from 250,000 to 73,000? That's just insane. And, this is the unfortunate thing about Trump and people who believe him. Like, you can use something that has a kernel of truth or basis in fact and then just use it to justify your essentially corruption and your own incompetence, right? Because what they don't want people to know is that the Bureau of Labor Statistics reviews their stats all the time. Like, the initial stats that they release month by month is based on like the first interview, right? They have to interview employers and employees up to 3 times, and then they go back and revise the data after they've gotten a full picture. And, of course, if Trump is your version of a smart person, if you're a dumb person, you're going to take his initial explanation at face value.
It's all fake news, which was his explanation is she made it up, so she got fired. And we saw people telling us that right away. like it was almost as if they all received a newsletter email at the same time. They had their talking points. Their talking points were BLS is wrong, the statistician is biased against Trump, this is fake news. That was the party line almost immediately. It was fascinating to see.
And not just fake news, right? They are making, regular statistics. I mean, statistics are very boring, right? So they're making just the most boring process of collecting data into this big deep state conspiracy that somehow, the Democrats, Clinton and Obama's or whatever, like cooked the numbers just to make Trump look bad. I mean,
the Clinton.
These people are just delusional, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like the Illuminati, cooks up the numbers.
Well, let's talk through, because you kind of referenced it just now, how the data is collected, just because I understand people are confused. We're not saying you shouldn't be confused about the numbers being one thing last month and then the report coming out and them saying, actually, we were wrong. It's this. And then it being revised by 85-90% lower than initially thought. The way BLS collects the data is pretty much, as Olu said, they survey employers, companies. They ask them how many people are on your payroll as of a certain day. And I believe it's through the 12th of the month. So however number of employees you have on your payroll through, let's say, July 12th, that's the number you would submit to BLS. Then that's the number they report for July. And that number always comes with a little asterisk next to it that it's preliminary, because what BLS does, which you want them to do, is they then go back through data for July. They go through the actual So the companies they surveyed, they go through their actual payroll taxes they submitted to the government for that month. They go through the unemployment numbers in states for that month. And then they use that to actually determine the real number of people that are, quote, employed or unemployed. That's what happens. So this report you saw, I saw a lot of people pointing to the fact that the report said we added 73,000 jobs in July. That is a preliminary number. Next month, assuming Trump doesn't replace BLS with, some sycophant of his, they will probably revise those numbers, and that 73,000 number will change because now they have hard data, not just survey information. We can't just take the word of employers. Like, the example I gave someone, an employer could say on the 12th they have 100 employees, and then on the 16th they had layoffs and now they have 50 employees. But that update would not be reflected in the BLS report because they had submitted 100 employees by July 12th, which was true. Next month, BLS comes back, sees that that company laid off 50 people. Now the real employment number for July is 50. That's how this happens. It's not some conspiracy. It's actually a good thing that BLS comes back and verifies that information, but you can't tell that to Trump people.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who's done any kind of research or data collection of any kind knows that surveys are just notoriously unreliable ways of getting data. There is recall bias. People forget. Some employers may want to inflate their numbers or deflate their numbers for whatever reason, right? So, like, hard data like payroll and tax filings is really the only way you can actually get an accurate picture of who is currently employed, who is losing their jobs, and who is having high turnover, and what the projections might be for, like, the labor market, right? And so this is the problem when we don't open the schools, right? When people don't understand the difference between
Mm-hmm.
surveys and people's, opinions and memory versus, like, actual hard data that you can follow.
Yeah, and I think that is seen clearly in the response. Like, we had people almost immediately on our timeline saying, commenting, replying to posts about the job market that there's bias in the BLS. They didn't think there was bias last month when those initial job numbers came out and it wasn't even looking good. I really want to, like, clarify the job numbers before this revision down were already mid. They were not great. We're acting like, not we, but people on the right are acting like he had excellent numbers, and then, the evil BLS revised them down. These numbers were not great to begin with, and that to have them cut by 90%, you can see why the market dropped on Friday, why people were freaking out on Friday. And I also think it's interesting that the Trump supporters who are defending this don't seem to be connected to, like, day-to-day life. I know that there are people who are out there and for months have been saying the job market is terrible, the economy feels off, Trump's tariffs are having an impact. And then the numbers would never align with that experience that people were having. There have been hundreds of thousands of people that have been laid off that still haven't found jobs across multiple industries. Trump's tariffs are kicking in. Companies are trying to save money, so they're, like, making cuts. We had been hearing about all these stories, even Trump's big, beautiful bill leading to hospitals closing. Like, there are things happening that you see in a day-to-day basis that were not being reflected in things like the employment report. And so now that this is happening, now we have revised it down. Now that we are seeing that, no, actually, the labor market is struggling. I don't know why the first instinct amongst people is not, okay, what are we going to do about it? Instead, it's, how can we cover up for Trump, who is clearly the cause of this, because things were good in January. He's only been in office for 6 months. Things were heading in the right direction when he came into office.
I mean, this is the pathology of being a Trump supporter, right? Like, they cannot base anything in fact. They cannot, like, base anything in reality. So they just have to keep buying whatever reality he manufactures for them, right? Like, he's keeps saying that this is the most big, beautiful economy that he's ever built. And their mission is to keep saying that until they're blue in the face, right? Like they have no other options, right? I mean, I saw some of the other things you had posted, Liz, as well, about like Black unemployment being at the highest it has been in decades. I mean,
like, you gotta ask Byron Donalds about that
exactly,
one.
Exactly, like Byron
his
Donalds
barbershops,
and his barbershop visits. Like, what do you have to say about that? I wonder what the Black Republican meetings, how those are going.
They're
right?
royally pissed. They're royally pissed. That's what they are.
Shout out to Key and Peele. That was a perfect sketch, actually.
Yes, it was. And R.I.P. to Malcolm Jamal Warner, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the best part of that sketch.
He was, yeah.
But this is the problem we have when people are like uninformed and they don't really know like where their bread is buttered, to use an old phrase. Like I mean, majority of Black people, Black men, Black women voted for the Democratic Party, but we cannot deny that there was a shift in the amount of voters, and a lot of them said it was due to economic reasons. And like something like 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs, right? Because a lot of Black women work for the federal government, right? And when Elon Musk and Doge just took a hammer to, all of our government services, all of those people lost their jobs, right? And the idea that these are the people who get on and say, what have Democrats done for the Black community lately, right? Like the idea that these people were saying this with a straight face, that they've never done anything for Black people. Like, it's like you don't know what you have until you lose it. This is the problem.
Yeah, because when the economy is down, unfortunately, people who were trying to build themselves up, move into a new socioeconomic class, those are the people that are always the first to suffer when the economy is down. It's always those people who are like, it's like new college grads, they're trying to find their first job, get a start in the career. Those are the people that are going to have the most negative impact from a shitty job market. That person who's trying to transition careers from maybe something that doesn't pay them up as much to something that would pay more and put them on a better financial standing. Those are the people that suffer when the economy is shit. And guys, breaking news, everyone, I guess. The economy is shit. Congratulations. On top of this, inflation seems to be going up. The word stagflation was trending a little bit on Friday because this is one of the words that sends shivers through every economist's body is stagflation. We have not been in a stagflation situation since the 70s. So congratulations, everyone. We might be living through another like unprecedented time. Yay us. But
we are so tired.
We're so tired. So tired.
We're already down the .com bubble and then like 08. I'm done.
You didn't even count the COVID recession. Don't forget that. Oh yeah,
that's true.
The housing crisis. Like, it's been a lot. But and if you're listening, you're like, what's stagflation? Basically, stagflation is when the economic indicators like jobs or income growth or whatever are down. Things are looking bad in the economy, but then inflation is going up. So you have a non-growing economy, but somehow inflation is going up. And I don't know about y'all, but why would inflation go up, Olu? Did our president do anything in the last couple of months that might be driving up inflation in an environment where job losses are happening?
I mean, I know he and his voters can't spell, but it starts with a T.
and ends in an Arif. Called tariffs. It's called tariffs. One of my other favorite parts about this, and I'm saying favorite, this is sarcasm, folks. This is not good for me. I'm observing and it's fucked, but it's not good for me. But something I also thought was interesting, and I don't think enough people are talking about, usually in cases where the private sector is struggling, where the economy seems to be stalling, there's usually a different part of America's society that fills the hole. that does the hiring. In fact, some conservatives accuse Joe Biden of padding his numbers with this alternative employer we all know as the US government. Usually, when private sector is failing, the government provides jobs, opportunities with things like infrastructure or construction projects or investing in local communities. But wouldn't you know it, guys, Republicans just passed massive spending cuts at a time when America could benefit from government employment. So they're just compounding the issue they already worsened. Isn't that great?
I mean, the government doesn't only employ people, right? It actually provides funding for companies. And a lot of people talk about, government giving grants to small businesses, but like the truth of the matter is the government gives a lot of grants to like the giants like Apple and Facebook, and all of those people still get grants from the government so that they can employ people or develop new projects or new research that they can then use to like employ even more people, right? Like it just goes on and on. And then those
Yeah.
people go to the restaurant, the small businesses, and they spend the money that they got from the government grants there. This is like, it's, what's that word? It's an ecosystem. Yes. It's an ecosystem.
Careful, you're sounding like a tech bro now saying the word ecosystem.
No, but that's the only way to describe
It
it,
is.
right? Like
It is. It
these
is.
losers who like can't think beyond, two paces ahead of themselves don't understand. I saw somebody responding that, well, like all of those are government jobs anyway, so they should be lost because a poor economy is a poor economy is being held up by the government. And I don't understand people who think like this. If you look at most cities that are not, New York City or Los Angeles, or, cities that have like their own industry, in general, the federal government is the biggest employer in any city, right? Like from states in Virginia to Texas to New Mexico, like the government is usually the biggest employer there. And the idea that there are these, entrepreneurs who are just like the people who power the American dream is a lie. Like in general, actually, the federal government powers the American dream.
Yeah. And at a time when we would really benefit from the government stepping in to power that dream, at a time when the dream is under pressure, our government decided to make cuts to the social safety net, to services, to things like grants. I really don't know how the Democrats or people on the left can make it clear to the American public who's actually good for your wallet policy wise. But time after time after time, we see this happen where the Democrats, the Liberal Party comes in, makes changes, builds policies, try to pull people up, and then Republicans come and use some culture war nonsense to win an election, damage everything, and then Democrats have to come back in and clean things up. We seem like we're going through the same thing. Joe Biden helped pull us out of the post-COVID period, clean that up. Trump comes in 6-7 months in, we're already throwing around words like stagflation. The new thing now is that the conservatives say, we were all promised we would have a recession this summer and we haven't had one. So now that's the bar for conservatives, is that we're not in a recession. And I'm just kind of like, what does that mean? You don't even know that we're not. You usually only find out after the period has passed. So we could be in a recession right now, 6 months into a presidency, when in January we were facing just the best exit from the pandemic any country had ever had. And now here we are talking about rising unemployment and rising prices for things. I don't know where we go from here. Hopefully many people go to read in economics textbooks so they can figure out how things work. But as a country, I don't know where we go from here, quite honestly.
I mean, you don't have to read an economics book, right? I mean, if you want to, more power to you.
I think more people should. I'm going to be honest with you. I disagree completely. More people should read economics textbooks and things about economic policy specifically, not just like, the rantings of Adam Smith or whatever. I mean, like the policy part of it.
Okay, fair, but like, we have to be able to go through life understanding that some people are the experts and they know what they're doing, right? Because it's this idea of, I did my own research. That's why a career labor statistician in jobs and the economy can be, like some loser who like can't even shave his beard straight will be calling somebody like that, like a DEI hire or unqualified or stupid, right? Because like these people think they read a Wikipedia page or something on 4chan and now they think they know better than the actual expert. I guess that's the point
true.
I'm trying to make. Like,
That's true.
Like,
that's true. Some people doing their own research is how we got here. That's also a good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People feeling like they can just like pick up a textbook or something and then like become an expert in what you're talking about is just wrong. And we have to understand that this is what Trump is actually counting on. Like, this is about him trying to delegitimize everybody, right? So that whatever happens, right, he's trying to delegitimize Jerome Powell. He's trying to delegitimize the Labor Department. He's going to try to delegitimize anybody who knows anything about the economy, so that whenever they actually then say there is a recession, well, guess what? They're the deep state. They are DEI hires. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And I don't think it's until it hits certain people in certain places that there will be acceptance that, these numbers are real. I think that's part of it. I know that in my sort of social circles, there are people who have been laid off for over a year and are still struggling to find somewhere to work. And, not every case is the same, but I do think there has been tightening in the labor market. And the fact that Trump has done things to exacerbate that, like the tariffs, like this ridiculous big, beautiful bill that he just passed, like putting pressure on Jerome Powell and scaring, Wall Street. These are not the actions of an administration that is trying to fix the issue. And we were told by Trump voters that they voted for him for the economy. It's looking like that was a mistake, which you can imagine is just one of many, many, many mistakes we will continue to talk about over the coming weeks when it comes to Trump voters. But I want to segue now to another topic, which is in the same vein as the first one, which is more people voting for Trump for reasons and then Trump disappointing them. Olu, I sent you the story earlier today. It's about IVF. Now
I mean, well, let me let you land
before you share your thoughts.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that we on this podcast, as childless cat ladies, are okay with IVF. I want to say that because I may say something during this segment that people with children might personally find annoying. We love your little creations, guys. Nobody is mad at you for having kids. What I want to talk about is that people said they voted for Trump in 2024 because of IVF. I'm not even sure where they received the information that he was a supporter of IVF, but somehow information was translated to certain women that said they were going to vote for him because he was going to give Americans IVF, free IVF, by mandating it. And then over the last couple of days, news has come out from the administration that they are moving away from that and will no longer be mandating IVF, meaning your insurance company doesn't have to cover it, meaning it will be free. Basically, he's reneging on a campaign promise. I personally find this all extremely hilarious because it's another example. I don't know why you're laughing, so you agree with me, Olu. It's another example of how the trad wife, Republican, pro-natal, like parenting, motherhood nonsense apparently scrambled people's brain last year, and they forgot that Trump is a fucking liar and decided to vote for him. I'll stop there.
I mean, I completely agree with you, right? I mean, the idea that these people would believe any so-called promise or mandate from Trump, right? Like, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be having kids, right? Like, just go do something else, right? Like...
I wasn't gonna say it. I'm glad you brought it up. I feel like if you're gonna be that stupid on this topic, you have other problems. Don't worry about the kids. Like, don't worry about it. You have other issues right now.
Like, trying
Seriously.
to populate the US is the least of your problems right now.
We shouldn't be laughing because I am aware, I don't know personally, but I am aware that motherhood and fertility is a very sensitive topic for people. So I really am struggling so hard to be like empathetic to that, but I do not fucking understand how anyone saw this man, saw his track record, and of all the fucking things, I believe the people who believe that he was going to deport everyone, because those people were paying attention. I don't know who hears the IVF part and is like, oh yeah, he's totally going to do that. For sure.
Okay, I mean, this is utter nonsense, right? Like, the Republican Party has never, ever, ever been the party of actual children, right? Like, they are natalists and they're, white nationalists, and they're always screaming about the great replacement theory or whatever it is.
They are.
They've never actually done anything at all to improve fertility rates for anybody. Like, the idea that somebody who just, when was asked about his IVF plans, just said, oh, I'm the father of IVF. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? It's creepy, it's rapey, it doesn't actually help you. Like, are you going to take it to the insurance company and be like, yeah, Trump said that he's the father of IVF? Like, none of this makes any sense. But, like, this is the problem I have with women who, voted for this, right? Because these are the same women who wanted to vote for Trump so that he could take away reproductive rights from people who want to have an abortion for whatever reason, whether they've already had children or not. But then they want him to support their reproductive rights to, like, get IVF, which we support. We support all of the range of, reproductive options that are available to women. The problem, again, and this is the hallmark of a Trump voter, they don't care if it does not affect them, right? Like, fuck those hoes, they can't get an abortion, but I'm a Christian lady,
not the hoes.
Like, my quiver should be full, or whatever the fuck those weirdos believe. Oh
god, the quiverful people.
Exactly, like, those freaking weirdos, and so they believe that their particular creepy natalist nonsense should be government funded, right? Like, their stuff should be government funded, but not anyone else's. This is the hallmark of a Trump voter. They're just pathologically cruel. That's it.
That's true. And that's even where our whole byline about being childless cat ladies came from, right? It was J.D. Vance was attacking women on the left, saying they're childless cat ladies and are anti-family. And it's like, no. I enjoy children as much as the next person. That's not the issue. The issue people have is you don't want women to have a choice in when they start those families. And then your policies don't support them when they start those families. You're cutting healthcare and benefits and SNAP benefits. You remember in the Big Beautiful Bill, that whole thing about how, what was it, like, you don't get SNAP benefit when your kid is over 7? Because I guess once you hit 8 as a child, you don't need food anymore. Like, it's just, that's not pro-family. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand who saw all these signs and was like, oh yeah, no, he's totally going to do the IVF thing. For sure. Definitely.
Again, like, it's unfortunate that we're just going to keep seeing the consequences of being willfully stupid, right? Like there's like ignorance because you don't know what's going on, but these are people who just like choose to be obtuse, right? They're just deliberately trying not to understand what the issues are so that they can punish somebody else that they think is undeserving. And so I will laugh, at these people who are not getting, whatever it is that they were promised.
Free
Honestly, I
IVF,
think,
yes.
like this is insane, right? And I don't understand why, we should be upset for this specific group of people. As you've mentioned, people are losing all sorts of benefits, right? Like these are the pull yourself up by the bootstraps people. These are the, the world does not revolve around you people. Well, you can't get IVF, tough shit. Like, I don't know.
Tough shit. Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, we did. Part of the reason this struck me is because there was a story about this a couple of months ago where there was a U.S. forestry worker who voted for Trump because of IVF. And she.
Okay, wait, back all the way up. This is a forestry worker. So
Yes.
presumably cares about trees and the ecosystem, which Trump
Maybe.
doesn't.
We
And also
assume.
is a federal government worker, so she's probably
Yes.
lost her job by now.
She did. She did. That
Okay.
was literally the point of the article. You already did the spoiler, Olu. Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
this is a little bit of it was a story that went I think she was even on CNN and a couple of media outlets because people were just shocked that there was a person like this. You hear about these mythical like voting against your self-interest people, and everyone knows they're out there. So she was trending. The story was trending a couple of months ago, or I think it was in February, because we all hear about these like people who vote against their self-interest, but this was a just very obvious example of someone who did that. And she had been trying to get pregnant. She's 24 years old. She was trying to get pregnant and was told that she would need IVF most likely to be successful. And when she went to the voting booth, she thought about Trump saying he was going to give her IVF. Ignored the fact that he was also promising lots of government job cuts, and decided to vote for him. And then as of like February, March, she received a message that Doge had eliminated her position and she was being laid off by forestry or U.S. Forest Service. So these people are out there. And I remember this story because it struck me how ridiculous it was that she voted because of IVF, apparently. But now she had lost her job. So like now the IVF is the least of her concerns because now she has to like find a job in a government that's not hiring. So, I guess someone asked Riley Cooper how she's doing these days.
I don't know. Like, don't bother, right? Like, because I have no sympathy for these people because they're going to do the same thing again. They're just some people who are just that selfish and self-interested, right? Like these are just people who are incapable of thinking about anybody else or experiencing something for, anyone else, right? So sure, I'm sure she feels bad for herself and bad for what is happening
Well,
to
yeah, of
her.
course. Mm-hmm.
But like, these are the same people who you would ask them about something else and they will still choose Trump's policies every time.
Well, hopefully she's self-aware enough to see where mistakes were made, and I guess we wish them the best. But breaking news: if you weren't aware, Trump is not going to do the free IVF thing that he promised. So I don't know. I don't know where y'all, and by y'all I mean people who are looking for free IVF. I don't know where y'all go from there. Hopefully, we don't slide into a recession, in which case having children will probably be the least of most people's concern. So we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. And speaking of, I guess, just the general sense of doom and helplessness that everybody is feeling right now.
Why are we laughing? These are not good words. This is not good at all.
Just the general like fucked upness of everything. Apparently, the happiest place on earth. What Well, maybe not, but like, you know, the funnest place on earth, which is Las Vegas, is experiencing an economic downturn,
I'm sorry. I
which
thought
is
you said happiest. I was like Disney. Like
I don't know. What's the tagline for Las Vegas? Oh, Sin City, right?
I thought it was what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Okay.
Oh, you've been to Vegas, right?
I I have.
You're
Oh, we've been to Vegas,
exactly.
actually.
Exactly. We have been to Vegas together. So like I'm confused.
Whatever. The point is that like this is supposed to be people's happy place. Well, the adult happy place, okay? And apparently things are not so fun down there. They are losing foot traffic. Hotels are not booked. Casinos are empty. There's compared to June of last year, there's been a 11.3% drop in the number of visitors to Las Vegas, which seems insane.
Yeah, and I saw that unemployment is higher there. It's approaching 6%, which is high for them. Um, there's been a few. I've seen a few ideas about why this is happening. Uh, One theme that is emerging, though, is that it's a decline in international tourism, which the whole country is feeling. But obviously, a place like Vegas is going to experience that more than somewhere else because it relies heavily on tourism. It's that, and also that the Vegas casinos have gotten out of control with their fees and prices and trying to like basically scam you out of money. So the combination of those two things, which is Trump's stifling of international travel to the US, I mean, technically, his immigration plan was to, quote, deport all the illegals. But what that has had, that impact that has had is that people don't feel welcome in the US anymore. And so you can't blame like, Canadian tourists for not wanting to go to Vegas for their holiday. I don't blame them. So that's definitely something that has to do with this administration. But the larger issue seems to be also the fact that the casinos are just price gouging, and that's really affecting the experience. And so people don't want to come and have their money taken away.
Yeah, I mean, we're all experiencing this particular frustration with corporations, right? Where everything is just another excuse to squeeze out the last dollar from you, right? There's nothing you pay for anymore that is the price that is written on it. There's always a hidden fee, there's always a clause. People are complaining that they used to be able to, go into casinos and get like cheap drinks, which you would want as a casino operator, right? You want people to be drunk as hell so they can continue spending their money on your machine slots or whatever. But like even now, like sodas are $11. I saw it on one video. That's crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy because you can
insane.
go. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is. Last time I was there's a CVS on the Strip. You can buy soda in there. That's not $11. Just pro tip: if you do want to visit Vegas, you don't have to pay hotel prices for soda. That's crazy. The other thing I keep hearing is, the casinos themselves, the motivation for them like jacking up prices seems to be not just pure profit, but also like generally middle class spending is down, which is part of what we were talking about earlier about the economy and things being off and the vibes being off. Like even American tourists like are not really about Vegas because they're trying to save money. So it's just, in a way, this is Trump bankrupting casinos again, except these are not his casinos. These are other people's casinos. And I guess no surprises there.
Yep. I mean, as you mentioned, he was one of the rare people who bankrupted the casino. So, of course, he's going to bankrupt Las Vegas. But I think more worryingly is like the housing market in Las Vegas is being overrun by supply and people are not buying because, hello, the interest rates are crazy. So, there also seems to be a problem because it's not just that's an indication that it's not just the tourists, that the locals themselves are in a tough spot.
Yeah. And the thing with interest rates, back to, I call him Uncle Jerome, not because I'm a fan, I want to say, before you guys get on us for like, oh, the Fed. No, Jerome Powell, who is head of the Fed and the Fed board in general, they had a meeting this week where people were, on pins and needles. Will they lower interest rates? Will they lower interest rates? They did not. And now after this jobs report, people are going to say the Fed is behind again, which, larger conversation. But I remember entering this year from a lot of financial experts and analysts at the beginning of the year, there was the expectation that we would see the Fed cut interest rates around now. That was the talk of Wall Street, of the CNBC Bloombergs of the world. They were expecting a rate cut starting in the summer. And then Trump came in with tariffs, which obviously are inflationary and drive up inflation. And the Fed is like, we're not going to cut rates when inflation is going up. That doesn't make any sense. If Trump had just done nothing for the last 6 months, no tariffs, no bullshit with the one big beautiful bill, none of that, some people would be celebrating right now because interest rates would have been cut. Maybe you go buy your Vegas house. Everyone's happy. But instead, we are now in a situation we are dealing with rising inflation. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he would have been able to celebrate a win, right? I mean, for
Exactly.
people who don't pay attention, the interest rates have actually been a work in progress under the Biden administration. But Trump could have just ridden on the coattails of a Democratic success story, like
As he did
all
the first time.
Republican, exactly, and also Republicans have been doing since Reagan, right? Like they just coast on the wins of the Democratic president and the work that the Democratic president did, because it also takes years before you see like the full results of the policies that were put in place. But as you mentioned, he could have just been the first one to say, like, in the last 4 years, it was just under my administration that interest rates came down. But no, he had to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
He did. He literally could have just spent the last 6 months golfing and the economy would have been in a better spot. That's how stupid the situation is. It's the same thing with his wealth. The man filed for bankruptcy multiple times. If he had just done nothing, and I say this all the time to people who say Trump is such a good businessman, if Trump had taken his inheritance from his dad and just put it in an index fund in the stock market at that time, by now he would be significantly wealthier than he is today. And all he had to do was just nothing. Just don't touch it. That's Trump in a nutshell. Every time he tries to do something, it ends up a fucking disaster for us as a country. This is literally a man who does not know what he is doing, who is surrounded by people who won't tell him that he doesn't know what he's doing. And now we're talking about Vegas casinos. I didn't even think it was possible that this was, that you would see like 15-20% reduction in hotel occupancy rates in Las Vegas, and it's not like a fucking pandemic. I'm struggling to see how we are in a situation right now where we're worrying about Vegas. I don't know.
I mean, if that's not a recession indicator, I don't know what is, right?
I don't know either.
I mean, the idea that people can't, domestically gamble, like people freaking love gambling. It's famously an addiction, right? And if people are cutting down on an addiction, we've got a fucking problem.
We do. And I think that's Trump's America. The vibes are off. Like, imagine being someone, a Nevada Republican, and have your government administration telling you, oh, employment is actually up. It's not that big a deal. And you're staring at increasing unemployment at your hotels and casinos, the lifeblood of your city. How do you explain that? How do you align those two? I don't know.
Well, speaking of golf,
this is
such a random thing, and I know we didn't even plan to talk about this, but I'm just gonna put this out there. Like,
oh, okay.
The kind of cheating that Trump does at golf is so embarrassingly obvious. Like, so today, the actual official White House Twitter account posted that Trump has won his 6th championship at his own golf club for like 6 years in a row. Like,
oh wow.
my guy goes to his own golf club, and essentially they let him win every time. And the actual White House communications department has decided that this is a win that MAGA needs to celebrate. So they're putting it out there, and they've got a whole like mock up of a post and everything as if it's like a policy win.
Wow.
We live in such an embarrassing time.
I'm embarrassed as
just
well.
crazy.
That's actually, I can't laugh at that. That's so, somehow that to me is one of the more embarrassing things we've discussed today as an American. We're celebrating the president winning a golf tournament at his own golf course. Jesus Christ.
I mean, even Kim Jong-un's like minions would be like, okay, that's too much.
They literally would be like do less.
Even North Korea would be like, that's too much propaganda for us, right? No, it's crazy. It's got 5,000 likes so far, and the tagline is "winning off and on the course," right?
Oh my God.
As far as he's concerned, this is as good as his, non-existent deals with the EU or whatever. Crazy times.
Crazy times indeed. But even another thing we should talk about in crazy times, Texas and their gerrymandering and what's going on there. Are you like up to date on what's been going on with the redistricting in Texas?
Yeah, I understand that in order to hold on to the slim majority in the House, Trump has essentially told Texas Republicans to find him 5 extra Republican seats
in Texas.
Texas. So they're going to gerrymander and redistribute the districts to create 5 extra seats that they will then run Republican candidates. And I mean, it's Texas, so they have a reasonable expectation that they will win those seats. Mm-hmm. Sweep those seats and thereby give him a majority. Mm-hmm. And, Republicans have always been better at the gerrymandering thing. I mean, both sides do it, but Republicans have, pretty much been the villain of the gerrymandering story. They will do insane shit just to
like
to
this.
Win.
Like this. Yeah. They have, and in case you're wondering, Republicans in Texas have out publicly admitted that they are doing this for political reasons. This is not conjecture. This is not liberals making things up. You will find interviews from Republican congresspeople in the state of Texas at the state level saying they are doing this for political reasons. And the reason they're saying that is because it is not illegal to do it for political reasons. They have admitted that they are doing this for political reasons, and they're telling you they're doing it because it's not illegal to say that, and they want you to know they're doing it for political reasons. This is trying to basically disenfranchise millions of voters in Texas before we even have the elections.
And also across the country, right? Because this is meant to
they're
displace everybody's votes across the country.
Well, yes, they are doing it. It will affect like the balance of the House in DC, but in Texas specifically, this is a state where the people in the, let's say, blue parts of the states, your cities like your Dallas, your Austin, your Houston, have already felt like they are constantly being cut out of the electoral process. There are liberals in Texas, leftists in Texas who feel like their vote does not count already. And now the state is talking about redrawing districts to further disenfranchise those people, and now even more people. I'm struggling with this because it's a level of bullshit that I believe Democrats have previously avoided engaging in because they thought there was, I don't want to say a line, but like some decorum, like there are still some Democrats in DC who are operating under the assumption that, there's a line the Republicans won't cross. If we get into this, because it hasn't happened yet, they are proposing it. They have a special legislative session to do it. As we speak, multiple Democrats from Texas have fled the state, and the word they use is fled the state, because they are trying to prevent that special legislative session from happening where the Republicans, who are the majority in Texas, can vote in these rules. So Democrats have fled Texas so they can avoid having a House session that would make these gerrymandered maps the law, basically. But if we go down this path, other states are now saying they will also do the same thing. So Gavin Newsom, everyone's favorite Democrat, that was sarcasm, has promised to do it in California. Kathy Hochul is promising to do it in New York. Governor J.B. Pritzker is promising to do it in Illinois. We are beginning to enter a race to the bottom if Texas does this, because now other, quote, blue states will feel the need to do the same thing. And I'm just curious, if you're one of those American patriots who calls themselves a patriot, is this what you want? Do you want us to enter basically a gerrymandering arms race to the bottom? Because that seems like the path we are set on right now, which is insane.
Yeah, and I it's hard for me to see like what Democrats can really do about this. As you've mentioned, Gavin Newsom is promising to, create more Democratic seats. And it seems like the Democratic governor of Illinois, Pritzker, would also be open to doing such a thing. But as you said, it's a race to the bottom, right? Because then it becomes a free for all red states and all blue states can start doing stuff like this. And I personally struggle with this, with the, do something Democrats, like, outcry that Democratic voters and liberals and leftists and progressives, all of the people on the left coalition who keep saying stuff like this, because like you have to understand then like that means that you want, Democrats to also do, unethical and unconstitutional things, right? Because
I agree.
that's how it would have to work. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it. I understand, why Newsom and Pritzker might want to do stuff like this. I'm just saying that like it's better for us not to have this like race to the bottom if people on the left who detest Democrats, if they're just like voted the right way, like if all of the coalition of people who are on the left, if you had voted the right way, your Democratic people would not be running away from Texas, and Republicans would not be threatening to arrest them. Did you know that the Texas Republicans are the governor of Texas is threatening to arrest the Democratic reps who've left Texas? And so when people say like do something Democrats, and it's like, well, yeah, and they are going to be arrested. So what's going to be your solution to that? And I guess my point is like, let's just stop setting ourselves up for like do something scenarios.
Well, your advice would be helpful if you could bring some of the people, let's say the people who stayed home in 2024, if you had a time machine, you could bring them into July, August 2025, and they could see what was happening. And then you could take them back to 2024 to vote. We might have a different outcome. And your advice is helpful when we reach the 2028 election season. Right now, all we can do is have the Democrats, quote, flee the state. That's all we can do. And all we can do is have states like California and New York redraw their maps. This is a move that requires fighting fire with fire. This is not a move where you can like discuss the like highbrow, like, oh, what about, how do we feel about this as a nation? I know I said, how are you people feeling if you're a patriot? I mean on the Republican side. You guys say you love the Constitution, etc. Pretty sure this is not what the founding fathers wanted. But the thing that's interesting to me is, like, for example, Eric Holder, who was Obama's AG, who is a very, very staunch opposer of gerrymandering, because when Obama was in office, you can imagine Republican states were trying this sort of thing, and Eric Holder was very much against it. Even he has come out and said, yes, California should redistrict, New York should redistrict, because we have to fight fire with fire. The quote from Eric Holder was, this is like when the Germans invaded France. are you just going to say, well, we're against all war and we're for the resolution of disputes in a peaceful way? No, you're going to say sometimes you have to take up arms. And that's what's happening. I really do think we should be cheering on the California New York plan if Texas goes ahead with what they're doing. So I disagree with you, Olu. I guess I'm going to be fired from the podcast. But I think we should do this. Let's all do it. Let's fucking go. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, I agree. I think that they should do it. And, because all of our lives across the nation depends on this, right? Whatever other bills they want to pass in the future depends on how much of a majority they have in the House. So obviously we need to do something. But the other thing is, I just hope that, like, when fighting fire for fire goes left, that people under the liberal umbrella, progressive umbrella, whatever it is you consider yourself, I hope they hold firm and they hold steadfast, right? Because this is the problem, right? If Gavin Newsom goes rogue to fight fire with fire, I don't want to hear any nonsense about how, this is unconstitutional or this is unethical or whatever, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If that's what you're saying, if you want your main fighter to fight dirty, then be ready to get your hands dirty, right, in support of them. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I think we are at that point, Olu. I saw polling that said some majority of Democratic voters feel like their party isn't doing anything to stop Trump. And you know how I feel about this line of statement. If you guys had just shown up last year, et cetera, but we're not, that doesn't help at this point. This is our current situation we are in. We need some way to respond to that. I guess some of that way is going to be getting down in the mud with these people and cutting them out of states where we have the majority. I guess that's what we're going to do. And then if they pull back, we can also pull back. But the time for sort of sticking to the rules for things like this, because and if you're listening to this, think to yourself, why does this matter? Why are they trying to do this? There is a sense, I don't know how strong it is, but there is a sense in the political sphere that Trump and Republicans will lose bigly, Trumpward, in the midterms. That's why this is happening. We have midterms coming next year. There is a sense, given how things are going, we literally just talked about unemployment going up. There's a sense that the Republicans were probably going to lose the House. They have, I think their majority is 4 or 5 seats right now, right? They were going to lose. That was the general consensus. And so in order to avoid losing, effectively, they're going to create 5 new seats and steal those seats away from Democrats because they're not increasing the total number of seats. They're just moving things around. So in order to keep power, basically, in order to avoid having the last 2 years of Trump be a lame duck term if Democrats win the majority in DC, they have come up with this plan. So I think we need to push back. I think this is an option. This is a time when we must push back. We cannot allow Trump to have all 4 years with the Republican House. That would be crazy. Look what he's done. It's only been 6 months. We can't have 3.5 more years of this. So whatever we can do to stop that from happening, I am okay with. Okay. That was the only thing that was keeping me positive, Olu, was looking forward to the midterms and believing that Democrats would win and we would just have the last 2 years of Trump's presidency be fully nonsense and nothing would get done. And I remember I told you that was what I was aiming for, was just stagnation for 2 years would be an improvement over the current situation. But now that is at risk because of this gerrymandering. So I support any and all efforts to stop that from happening.
I agree. Republicans, they don't win hearts and minds. They don't even win votes, right? They just grab power. It's a power grab. And unfortunately, we have to do the same thing. And I hope that people will support their democratic fighters. If you say you want to fight, when the person is fighting and when it's messy and, maybe they're saying some words that you don't agree with and it's not necessarily, woke or whatever, you just keep the main goal in mind. That's
keep
all I
the
have
target
to say.
in mind. That's a good call. That's a good reminder because I don't know if you're talking about Pete Buttigieg, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Yes, there was a little scuffle he had. It wasn't really a scuffle, but he said some things, and people were upset, and saying some people were saying they wouldn't vote for him because he did not align, or he did not seem to come down fully on one side of an issue. Um, we really can't have that moment if we are in a fight. It's just, I want to remind people because I don't want to. I hesitate to say vote blue no matter who, because that's basically a swear phrase now online. But if we go into this with this gerrymandering, for the example, we all got to be on the same side. We can't have any cracks in the coalition just until we are done defeating this evil, you know. Let's just imagine it's a Marvel superhero movie and we all have to band together to support the team, the Avengers. We don't agree with every Avenger, but they are Earth's mightiest heroes for now. So let's just support them. Okay.
Oh my God, you're such a dork.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw Fantastic Four yesterday. That's where this is coming from. So
of course. Of course.
let's just pardon me for the joke. But yes, Olu is right. We can't have the cracks. We can't have that. I'm sorry.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Liberal Banter. We have been your hosts, Olu and Liz. We are taking a break for what's left of the summer. We hope you have enjoyed your year with us so far. Please continue to spread the word. We will see you after Labor Day. We will be back week of September 8. Until then, be well. Bye-bye now.